Leaders and healers, gamers and claimers, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Forever Fit podcast. I am your host, Anthony Cheam, speaker, life coach, personal trainer, author, and entrepreneur. This podcast is predicated and dedicated to helping you achieve superhuman health and happiness and creating and designing a fountain of youth blueprint so you can have and possess greater longevity, vitality, stability, flexibility, functionality, and fluidity in your life. And as a result of having an abundance of energy, endurance, stamina, power, focus, clarity, drive, and alignment, you can then direct that towards the things that matter most. Your relationships, family, friends, community, charity, spiritual progress, career, job, profession, or business, finances, joy, fulfillment, and meaning. Ultimately, your upgraded life can influence and upgrade the lives of everyone around you. And that's what life is all about. So thank you for joining us today. It is an absolute pleasure and a privilege. One of the things I wanted to really streamline health and well-being, especially in light of what's happening with the world with COVID. It's really what it comes down to. You know, we talk about the small atomic micro habits that affect our lives. And I'm going to talk about many different things, tools, strategies, methodologies, philosophy about how to possess superhuman health, vitality, strength, power in your life. And it's not just focusing on your physical well-being, although that's a big integral component in supercharging your life. The reality is it's really the indirect things that also can affect your physical health. Is it not true that you could work out, you could be vegan, or you could, eat all the supplements, you can eat for your genetic type, you can be getting enough sleep, you can have all these physical things working in alignment with what it takes to have superhuman physical health. But let's say your relationships aren't that great with your husband, your wife, your partner, your son, your daughter, or you hate your job. I remember a long time ago, Deepak Chopra said, it was a long time ago. I think it was it was an audio I heard back in the 90s sometimes, but I think it's pretty prevalent today. It's pretty accurate even to this day. He talked about how the World Health and Education Department released this particular document that said to the major components that influence your heart attack or heart disease, and none of them were fitness related, diet related, or health related, really. They were two things: happiness rating and job dissatisfaction. And you thought, wow, how's that? Happiness rating and job dissatisfaction. So he basically went on to say, if you have great happiness in your life overall, you like your job, you like your relationships, and you're making a difference in the world, and you like your job, and you find joy and fulfillment from your job, then there's a good chance you're probably going to have a healthy, fulfilling life. And that doesn't mean if you're eating McDonald's and drinking booze all the time and and taking heroin every day that you're going to be guaranteed that you're not going to have health problems. No, in today's world, we need to integrally connect all the dots, what it takes to be healthy. But that does point to a particular point when it comes to being healthy, is that if you just take care of your physical health, but you are unhappy at your job, or you have a disastrous relationship or a toxic relationship you're in, or you suffer from some sort of mental, emotional challenges that you're not cleaning up, that you're denying. It's like everything's fine, but really it's not, then those things you push under the rug are going to take over. As Tony Robbins says, he talks about, you can look at your garden and say there's no weeds, but the weeds are going to take your garden. You have to acknowledge some of the challenges that are in your life and appropriately and accordingly look at those challenges and fix them, clean them up, and determine particular solutions to those challenges that occur in your life, either with help, and I do recommend having help, whether a coach or a therapist or whatever it might be, a mentor in your life. But I would say that my top three indirect components that affect your physical health and vitality are, number one, your relationships. I have to say, relationships are number one. And if you've got a pretty strong, honest, and loving relationship with your family, friends, and yeah, it doesn't mean you don't have arguments with your family or your friends or your husband, wife, father, mother. It doesn't mean that, but it means that you are working every day to develop yourself, your communication skills, and you're making more deposits into your love account than withdrawals. There's a good chance you're going to be a lot healthier than most people. And I think it was Dr. Dean Ornish, very famous Harvard professor of nutrition. And he's known around the world as a very prolific scientist and researcher in the field of nutrition. And he even said, I remember him saying that, if you could have all the fitness supplements and nutrition, and I'm paraphrasing here, but all those things mean nothing if you don't have great relationships. What contributes to your health more than all those things combined are your relationships. Think about it. I mean, even in my own personal life, when things are going great in my life, or I have great physical health, I'm working out, I'm eating healthy, I'm getting enough sleep, but there's this sort of disconnect in my spiritual life, or I'm not meditating as much, or I have an argument with my wife or my kids, and I don't feel good. I just don't. There's this underlying stress, an underlying tension that occurs. And I find that even when my physical health isn't going well, equally, if my physical health isn't going well, but then let's say my relationship with my wife and kids are going well, I feel pretty good. I feel okay. I feel all right. When both are going great, then man, I feel like I'm superhuman. So number one is relationships. So take a look at your relationships. And take a look. Are they thriving? Are they just for surviving? Are you making more deposits or making more withdrawals? Are you loving yourself, loving your family, your husband, wife, father, mother? Are you taking the time to spend present moment time with your family, your friends, your children, the people that you care about the most? Or are you driven just for success and achievement and climbing the corporate ladder? And there's nothing inherently wrong with that, but I'm going to tell you there are consequences to making your career the number one priority over your relationships. And I've seen it in my life coaching practice. I've seen it, people being driven to be successful in their business or their career or money first, and it with disastrous consequences. Now, in the short term, it might not seem like a big deal, but long term, it certainly does. So, and you heard me say this before in terms of my three non-negotiables. My three non-negotiables are spirituality first, number two, my physical health and well-being, and number three, my relationship with my wife and kids. I do my very best. I'm not perfect, but I do my very best to make those three my top priority. And when I'm able to align those three things and make deposits into those accounts, man, I feel like I can break through anything. I feel unstoppable. So the first one, relationships. Take a look at those first, especially with your intimate relationships. Even if you own a business, take a look at the relationships you have with your employees, your partners, your managers, your directors, even your neighbors, things like that. We're all connected at some level. So take a look at that. And the biggest relationship, obviously, was the relationship you have with yourself. Are you loving yourself? Are you taking the time to love yourself, to look at yourself in the mirror, as cliche as it sounds, and say, hey, when was the last time you looked in the mirror and said, I love you, to yourself? It sounds kind of corny and cheesy, but when was the last time you gave yourself that deposit? You can't give someone $10 if you only have $20, or you can't give someone $20 if you only have $10 in your pocket. And so you must first fill your bank account up first. So focus on that. That's the first thing. Number two, I would say, in terms of the indirect components that affect your health, are your attitude, what you say to yourself, your language patterns. Are your language patterns in coherence, or aligned with positive energy, or aligned with negative energy? So if you plant seeds of, let's say, for example, if you plant seeds of apple seeds, are you going to yield pumpkins when the harvest comes? No. If you're going to plant seeds of cucumbers, I'm not even sure if it's cucumber plants or cucumber seeds, are you going to yield mushrooms as a result? No. The same goes for your attitude. your language patterns and what you say to yourself and what you project to the world through your language patterns. If you plant seeds of toxicity, you're going to yield a harvest of toxicity. You can't plant seeds of scarcity and expect abundance. You can't plant seeds of fear and expect love in your life as your harvest. So be very cognizant of what you say to yourself and what you say to your others. And so what my first suggestion in terms of expanding your health when it comes to your language patterns are your words, your phrases, the questions you ask yourself aligned with health, vitality, love, spiritual wisdom, and compassion and contribution? It's very powerful. I will take this back to the first words that were spoken in the Bible. In the beginning, there was the Word, and the Word was made into flesh. And so the words we say become our flesh. So be very careful of what you say to others, what you say to yourself. And there is even that one proverb that says, in the great book, that says, "Thou shalt not curse a deaf man." Well, why would it matter? Why would it matter if you cursed a deaf man? The person couldn't even hear it. Well, it must be because it's affecting you, right? So you have to start looking at the words you are saying to yourself, because they literally can mean the difference between life and death. Literally mean the difference between life and death. So words have the power to create. Words have the power to destroy. Words have the power to inspire someone to action, and words have the power to completely debilitate someone into fear and become a slave to their life or to their particular circumstances. Think about it when someone speaks power into your life. You listen to a speaker or a great orator or a great sermon, or a podcast, or whatever it might be, or you read a particular book and you underline a particular sentence that really resonates with something that you're going through, and you read it and you study it, and then you make it a part of your own vocabulary. It literally becomes a part of your language patterns, and guess what? It empowers you and enriches your life. So that's the second thing. Words, phrases, beliefs, they're all aligned in the things that you say. And all the words are just a depiction or are indicative of how you're thinking, really, at the end of the day. And so I have words such like this. I took one I kind of made it my own. What I've shared with a lot of people is God's wealth, health, wisdom, power, love, and energy circulates in my life. His wealth, health, wisdom, power, love, and energy flows, glows, and surges to me, through me, as me, in avalanches, hurricanes, tidal waves, tornadoes, vortexes, explosions, eruptions, thunders, booms, and lightning bolts of abundance. All my needs, desires, goals, intentions, and dreams are met now instantaneously by infinite intelligence, for I am one with God, and God is everything. Those are just words. But if you say it with power, conviction, with energy, and you repeat it over and over again like a song being played inside your mind, it literally has a deep resonating effect on your psyche, on your emotions, on your physiology, on your health. And so I'm going to say that. So if you combined your relationships with powerful words and what you say to yourself and what you say to others, man, your health is going to skyrocket. Superhuman health will be a part of your life. And the third component that indirectly affects your health, I would say, and this is by no means your least important, the least important by any stretch. I did say it. One of my non-negotiables, my first non-negotiables, is spirituality. Spirituality. And to me, spirituality is, if you want a good measuring stick in terms of your spirituality, and this goes back to the first one I talked about. It's your relationships. Take a look at the health of your relationships. The relationships with your mother, your father. That's spiritual wisdom. That's the litmus test for great spirituality is in your relationships. So yes, this does go back to the first component in relationships. But how do you enhance your spirituality? What are you taking the time for deep reflection? Are you taking the time for deep silence and prayer, contemplation, meditation? Are you taking the time to just smell the roses? Are you taking the time to walk through nature? Are you taking the time to just sit and read a book and just kind of read the words and just kind of go, wow, and really reflect on it? Or are you reading the book kind of passively and going, yeah, that sounds nice? Because you can get so much more from an experience, from a book, from reading one paragraph and sitting there contemplating what that paragraph is saying to you, than reading the whole book in 2 weeks and kind of passively reading it. So take an active, participatory, engaged response to life, how the universe is speaking to you through your relationships, through the silence, through meditation, through prayer. And as my spiritual teacher said, Anthony, it's not just about saying prayers, it's about becoming a prayer. It's not just about saying prayers, but about becoming a prayer. And what that says to me is your being when you are in deep stillness and deep silence and deep alignment with the creator of the universe, God, Tao, whatever you want to call it. So first, relationships. Number 2, your attitude, your language patterns. And number 3, spirituality. Are you taking the time for your relationships to make more deposits? What are your language patterns like? What questions are you asking yourself? What phrases are you repeating? Are they negative or are they positive? And are you taking the time every day to ritualistically engage with that deepest part of who you are, with your creator? 5 minutes, 10 minutes, an hour. I really don't care. Frequency doesn't matter to me. It's just taking the time just to breathe, to be in the moment, be mindful, and just to be grateful. Like every single day, I wake up in the morning at 3 a.m., whatever it might be. I literally do this because of, partly because of my experience with losing my mother, losing my father, losing my best friend when I was 16 years old. Those experiences really deeply affect you. And every day I wake up that I'm alive, I literally say this. I go, thank you for another day to be alive, because I could have died in my sleep. And I say, thank you for another day to spend time with my wife. Thank you for another day to spend time with my son and my daughter, who I love so much. Thank you. Just another day. And as Ralph Waldo Emerson said, he said, today is a king in disguise. Just to be present, just to enjoy this moment for what it is. And I was just telling a client recently, just before I came on the podcast, so many people are so fixated on striving, but never arriving. They are trying to, they're looking for the outcome, and they get their outcome, and then they go only to realize it's a phantom. And then they go to the next outcome, the next $1 million or the next success, whatever. And it's not inherently, success isn't wrong, but if you go for the outcome and you don't enjoy the moments leading up the process, as the East says, the journey is the destination, guess what? Then you end up just basically being a slave to the future, which never arrives. Because when you arrive at that future, you'll be looking at what? More future, the next thing. So relationships, health, relationships, attitude, language patterns, and spirituality. And I can tell you, if you just take 5 minutes a day for spiritual connection, 5 minutes a day to send a text to someone you love and to say, hey, I was thinking about you. I love you. I just want to tell you, you've made an awesome impact in my life. And maybe say something like, look in the mirror and say, I love you to yourself, or come up with your own little phrase like I shared with you. If you do those 3 things, they'll start to build micro habits of superhuman health, the fountain of youth blueprint. This is part of it. It's not just about eating healthy and working out, and that's a part of it too. And we'll get into a lot of things like that. But I'm all about integrating everything that makes us human and what affects our lives as humans. So I think I covered about quite a bit, Cam? I'm not sure. I go on rants. I know I'm a crazy nut.
Perfect. And I agree that it's important to get the foundation before we start getting into all the specifics of like what to eat, what to drink, how to eat, whatever, when to eat, all that nonsense, which it isn't nonsense. But if you don't have the core of it, then it kind of becomes like, what's the point if you're not happy, if you're not fulfilled, if your relationships are not, great.
Right.
I've heard a lot of really smart people talk about stress hormones and how that affects your health long term. So I love it. And I would also add that, if people don't really have any spiritual beliefs or anything right now, to me, spirituality at its core is sort of like a bigger picture on your life. And you get out of the hustle and bustle and you give yourself a chance to just chill.
Right. That's powerful. I think for me, Cam, and the people listening on this podcast, I mean, we called it Forever Fit. I mean, the previous podcast, Power, Purpose, Passion, I love doing it. I mean, it was great. And I still love doing it. I just wanted to get people to realize that to be forever fit, you have to start looking at all the areas of your life. And as you said, you could have the diet, you could have the supplementation, you could have the workout regimen, but if you don't have the spiritual wisdom, the experience, the love, the relationships, the attitude, all that really, I mean, I've met people who are workout fiends and they are supplementing with this and eating that and great, but they're just miserable. And I can tell you, they're not healthy. They're not. I can tell you that much right now. So we're going to get into a lot of these principles and concepts because I study it profusely and obsessively. I really do, just so I can help people. And I don't do this podcast necessarily just for me. I do this because I really want to share it with people. I just want to share it and just give it out there. And because the only thing you can do with your life is give it away, as Wayne Dyer says. That's the only thing you can do with your life. So just give it all away. And I'll leave you with this. Spirituality, if you, as you said, Cam, if spirituality is something that's new to you or something negative to you, think about it this way. What would your life be if you didn't make an impact with your life on this planet? What would your life be? What if you didn't use your gifts and talents to make the world just a little bit better? What if you didn't use your particular genius to contribute to someone or to provide meaning and fulfillment to someone that you love? It would almost be useless. So spirituality is contribution, compassion, connection. You don't need a religion for that necessarily. You don't need a book for that. You just need to look where the suffering is, and that's where love is going to be needed most. So I believe in today's world, we need it, especially with all the craziness that are happening on television and in the world with the wars in Ukraine and COVID and economy. Yes, all those things are happening. We need leaders. We need healers. We need people who are willing to step up and be examples of genius, of gratitude, of compassion. And so that's just me. So thank you for joining on this podcast. It's a wonderful blessing to be able to do this and to serve you in the way that we do here on the Forever Fit podcast. My name is Anthony Cheam, and this is a wonderful joy. So to your continued upgrade and evolution, live it up with power, purpose, and passion, and be forever fit. God bless you guys.